Today we're learning Kill Bill by SZA, probably the most feel-good song about killing your ex since Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles. But we're going to learn this in an easy way and maybe a more intermediate way that vibes with the spirit of the song a little bit more. It's going to sound like this. Easy way first. And then maybe something that's more like the spirit of the song. Because it kind of adds that bass line, which is like such a fire track. The bass line sounds great, so it's important to talk about it a little bit. So, first of all, you need a giant obnoxious capo on the first fret, right here. And then this is 4 chords, right? The 4 chords are pretty easy. So, capo on 1, we've got A minor, open A, 2D, 2G, 1B, open E relative to the capo, of course. Then we're going to go to D major. So, 2 on the high string, 3 on the B string, 2 on the G string. Then G major, 3E, 2A, 3B, and then E major. Okay, so open E, 2A, 2D, 1G, open. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 chords on a loop. So let's talk about the strumming pattern, then we'll talk about how we can make it sound a little bit more like the original, right? So we've got 2 bars of each. 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, 3, and 4, and G, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, 3, and 4, and E, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, 3, and 4, and. Okay? So the strumming pattern is going to be pretty much the same for all 4 chords, but it's worth it to count it like a musical count. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, 3, and 4, and. Instead of down, 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 up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up. Use the numbers, right? The numbers are going to be downstrokes, and the word and is going to be an upstroke. But more dynamic than that, that's going to be the first part, right? I'm hitting the root note first, so that open A. And then I'm getting maybe the D string second. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, 3, and 4, and. Okay? So after that, you see I've got like a mute in the middle. Again, this is just kind of like my interpretation of the beat. So however you want to play it is fine, but just remember there are 2 bars of A minor. You can just do it straight. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and D, 2, 3, 4, and D, 2, 3, 4, and G, 2, 3, 4, and G, 2, 3, 4, and E, 2, 3, 4, and E, 2, 3, 4, and A minor. Okay, but it's worth it to think about the counting, all right? So, that's just the easy way to do it. 4 chords, over and over again, all right? Now, the first change that we're going to make is going to be on that D chord, all right? So, the A is going to be the same way. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, 3, and 4, and D, 2, 3, 4, and D7. Okay? So, remember, I said there are 2 bars on each count. So, we're going to keep a regular D major for the first bar, and then we're going to turn that D major into a D7, D dominant 7, for that second bar, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, 3, and 4, and. So again, D7, it's the E and the G string stay the same fret, but the B string goes from the 3rd fret to the 1st fret. So, again, the tricky part is you have to actually change all your fingers unless you can somehow get your ring finger to go back, which no human can that I know of. But 2, 3, 2, 2, 1, 2, right? Now, everything else really stays the same. In fact, if you want to just maybe piecemeal into the easy version, into the more official version, then just start there. A minor, D, 7, G, to E. Okay, now the thing about 7 chords, dominant 7 chords, is they always point you in a direction, which we're going to encounter 2 of them in this song, right? And it's really just a very easy way to get into kind of how, harmony and voice leading takes you, because it'll always point you, always, 95% of the time, a dominant 7 chord is going to point you to what it is the 5th of, okay? So, D, being a note in a scale, just like a letter of the alphabet, is the 5th of G. G, A, B, C, D. Okay? So when you see a D7, almost always the next chord is going to be a G major. All right, it just resolves, it pushes you in that direction, right? So having that D major go from there to there sets you up for the next chord. And then remember, the fourth chord in the progression is E. We can make this E major an E7 by lifting your ring finger up, so now it's open to open D, 1G, open B. And it's like, all right, well, what is E the fifth of? We just turn that into an E7, right? A, B, C, D, E. E is the fifth of A. That's why if you want to get into music theory, just start learning what's 5 notes away, because you're going to see 7 chords a lot, and it's just easier to remember songs that way because you don't even have to remember what the next chord is. That 7th chord is going to tell you what the next chord is. All right? So that E7 leads us back to A. All right? The cool thing about dominant 7 chords is sometimes they can lead you to minor chords or major chords. In that D's spot, it led us to G major. In E's spot, it leads us back to the beginning of A minor, right? It works either way. But altogether, we've got A minor, D major, dominant 7, G, E, E7. Now the next thing we're going to do is add a bass line to that E major chord to replace the E7. Okay? So as soon as I get to that E, what I'm doing is I'm going to walk a bass line up into that A chord. The bass line just happens to be okay? So E string relative to the capo, open, 3, down to the A string, 2, down a string again, to D, and that leads us to the root note of that A minor chord, okay? So open, 3, 2, A, 2, D, A. Now there are a couple different variations of this bass line that they play throughout the song, but I feel like that's the one that stands out to me most. Now, playing a bass line in an acoustic guitar rendition can leave almost too much space sometimes, right? So like if we did this, A minor, D, G, that sounded fine, right? But it does kind of break it up a little bit because we're going from full chord strumming to single notes. So a lot of times in acoustic guitar interpretations of songs, you do stuff like this. So what I'm doing there is I'm still hitting those same bass notes, but then I'm kind of like muting. So I'm getting root, down, up, root, down, up, root, down, up, root, down, up, A. So I'm kind of getting these muted down ups to keep the rhythm of it going. I say root even though they're really just notes in a bass line. Right? So this sounds different than this. Open 3, 2, 2, A. Then having that percussive nature of a muted string, and how I do that is I'm really just kind of like using my hand to mute the strings of the ones that I don't want to hear, right? Mess around with that and it'll sound better over time. But it's a good tip because I've found if you're doing, I play like a lot of shows as a accompaniment, either myself singing or a singer, and having some kind of percussive element with an acoustic guitar just kind of gives a bigger, fuller sound to it. So anyways, that's the entire song. What a great song, right? D, 7, G, E, with the bass line back to A. And again, it's way better, way more productive for you to learn a song like this than to daydream about murdering your ex. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comment section. Instagram or the Patreon, where I teach a ton of song lessons. Don't do a lot of song lessons in general on my channel, but the Patreon is loaded with song lessons, so check that out, and a whole beginner to advanced course for you to check out. So let me know what you think. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot.